Let's get back to why the 2 is also called the 9.
When we're building this chord, the 9, even though it is the same note as the 2, it's inherently an octave up because it's part of a chord that you're building up. So if you have this chord, you want to refer to someone, this note, this D that you're playing, sure, you could say it's the 2, but the reason it's more common to talk about it as the 9 is because that's how you build chords from the ground. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. If I see a C major 9 chord, here's the voicing I will usually play. Rootless voicing with the right hand, so don't worry about that. I have the C in the bass. But I have the major 7, the 9, the 3, and the 5. But the 9 is down here. You know, I could play that. But why would I call this the 9 if it's closer to everything and you could call it the 2? Well, that's where semantics and just repetition of people get used to calling a certain thing comes in. And it makes sense if you think about it. Because if you're just to think of chords as the most basic form, no fancy inversions or anything, then yes, you're always stacking it up. And so this is the 9, that's the 11, that's the 13. So even if you move these down to do a different voicing, it's still thought of as the overarching basic chord of those extensions are actually really coming from being built way up here. So now again, there's no right and wrong. There's just certain things that people tend to go with as opposed to others, and normally because it's built off how you build a chord from the ground up. Here's some examples of other ones that are really common. For example, when you have the C, and then you have an F sharp in there, yes, it's considered the flat 5, but also it's the sharp 11. And this one gets tricky. I've heard it go both ways. But normally, you like to think of it as a sharp 11. And the reason why is because this chord feels, and of course it depends on the context, but in general, it feels like it's based off of the C Lydian mode. Was just G major starting at C, by the way. But in this C Lydian mode, it's inherent that the 4 is sharp. That's what makes it Lydian. And it's just one of those things. You never have a sharp 4 in a chord because that would either be a flat 5 or a sharp 11 in the octave up. So in this case, it makes more sense to call it a sharp 11 chord given that it comes from the Lydian sound, which has the sharp 11 in it. Now the video is getting a little long. There's other examples I could give in a part 2 if you want. So let me know in the comments if I should do that. But next time you get in a debate with someone over if it's the sharp 11 or the flat 5, just remember, it doesn't really matter. Certain things we just fall into over time because people just get used to thinking about a certain label derived from a certain thing. But it really does not matter. Focus on being able to understand the concept, whoever you're working with being able to communicate that. And as long as you do that and you're playing the right stuff, and you're all thinking the same way, then it doesn't matter. Have fun, play music, happy practicing.